Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode. Today, I want to talk about how it's okay to emulate people. It's okay to take ideas and make them your own or make a certain version. There's so many creatives and so many artists that have been influenced by other people, people that came before them. I mean, I find this is how art and creativity works a lot of times. You know, you have people influenced by the people before you. I mean, good example in music would be Michael Jackson, the Beatles, Nirvana. I think in Rick Rubin's book, he explains it very well in the sense that, you know, you may have an idea, you may put it out, but then when people don't have a context for your idea, then it's really hard to figure out, what it means. Like sometimes the listener will listen to something and be like, well, I don't really have a context for that. And maybe sometimes an idea is too new that, if when there's nothing else around it that maybe people can reference to, most consumers might feel a bit lost. So I mean, this is how I came up. I mean, I came up emulating people. I was listening to YouTube channels and emulating what was coming out on those channels, and I failed to emulate those, and I became my own thing. I became techno. I started making music in that style. I got kind of lumped into tropical house. That being said, I mean, I do a lot of guitars and electronic, and I mean, and I've done tropical house style music. I just don't consider myself just that style of artist and stuff. And that's perfectly fine. I'm just checking out this book called, and this is a book that my wife got me a while ago. It's called The Steal Like an Artist book. So, and it's by Austin Kleon. And it has Steal Like an Artist, has Show Your Work, and Keep Going. If you go on Audible, you can get all three for a pretty good price, or you get one credit. And so my wife got me Steal Like an Artist. I read it, and I mean, for me, it made perfect sense. I'm the kind of person, I hate to say it, but I'm not the best guitar player. I'm not the best singer. I'm not the best anything, really. The only thing I'm really good at is piecing stuff together. I can hear something and I can think, okay, this might work with this. And I think that's where my strength lies. I am not the best songwriter either. I think I've said it a few times in podcast episode. I struggle with songwriting, even though I've come up with some pretty cool songs that are pretty meaningful to me, and it seems like they're very meaningful to other people, to the fans. I mean, I just got 100,000 followers on Spotify, so that's pretty amazing. So there's people that are they definitely love the music that's coming out. But yeah, I'm a piece it together kind of guy. I mean, I used to go and play with Legos all the time, and then I started using FL Studio, and I find in FL Studio it's very easy to piece things together, and I'm really good at piecing together loops. I'm really good at programming loops, and I think my strength lies in being able to know what I really like, not so much what everybody else really likes. A lot of times a lot of people, they don't know what they want to hear. They don't know what they want until they get it. That happens a lot. So I find, especially nowadays, I just rely on what I really want to hear. So if I have to mangle my voice in some way to make it sound like something that I want to hear, then I do it. Like I do that a lot, where I will literally sing a certain style to fit the song. And I always feel like I don't really have a style per se, even though there's common things in a lot of songs that I make. I want to make sure I'm recording this. Okay, it's working. Sorry, I wasn't even looking if I was recording. But yeah, I just try to think of what can work for a song. So if I have to sing a certain way, if I have to edit or mangle my voice in a certain way, if I have to sing lyrics in a certain way, then I usually do it. I like, there's a lot of artists out there that they have one voice and they have one style of music, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, a lot of people listen to Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran pretty much has same voice in most of his songs. His songwriting is pretty similar in a lot of songs, and he plays guitar a lot, so there's definitely recurring things in his music, and that's perfectly fine. I'm just not that kind of artist. I would just get bored way too fast. And so what I try to do is I try to make what I really, really like. And I think that's a big thing that creators should be doing. They shouldn't start thinking all the time, oh, well, does this work in the market? I think that's a I'm gonna make money. That's a capitalist way of thinking, and it doesn't work for me. Maybe it works for other people. That's perfectly fine. But how I see it is, I make music and I make art the way that the way I feel I want to be expressed in the world, and whether people like it or whether they don't, I just keep going. It's important sometimes not to cater. I think as soon as you start catering, then you've lost the game. You're just chasing something that you'll never be able to chase, instead of being creative and thinking outside the box and making something unique that isn't really related to some kind of market. Now, what I'm saying is, it's okay to emulate people. I think it's really important. I think you can never truly emulate anything. I think, I find humans are not good at making perfect copies of anything. So I think that's a good thing. So that means people will listen to something that you've made. They might feel like there's some kind of reference to this or that, or I don't know, like if you're in fashion, you make some kind of fashion, or if you paint and you make some kind of paint. I mean, I know that nowadays, stuff by Warhol is very popular to make and kind of imitate. Stuff by Basquiat, very popular to make. I see it on TikTok all the time, especially Basquiat. I also see Doodle Guy. His art is very similar to Keith Haring. I see. I'm trying to think of other examples, and I mean, those are people like the Doodle Guy. He's making a shit ton of money doing all that stuff. And it doesn't feel like he's trying to do something to sell you something. I think it's just how he is, and people grasp onto that and find it very interesting. The thing with art is it's so subjective, and you can spend your whole life trying to chase something that might never come, chase like money and fame and all that stuff. And in the end, money and fame comes with a lot of problems. It's like you get there and maybe it's not what you wanted. This is why, in a sense, I'm lucky that, like, I feel lucky that I didn't make a whole lot of money in my early 20s. I'm lucky that I haven't gotten massively successful in my early 20s. And I'm lucky that I still have room to grow on my success, on my art, because sometimes reaching the top of your field, especially art, it might feel great for a few years, but it's like trends. It just, you might be there for 2-3 years, 4 years, and then next thing you know, you're nowhere, and then you're just living in the past, and you're just, you're trying to chase something that will never come anymore. I mean, that stuff scares me. I mean, it could happen someday that, I release a song and it just goes massively viral and everything, and it would be great, in general. It's great financially and all that stuff, but that's not the reason why I do all this. It just scares me. It scares me sometimes. Success is scary because you don't really know how much it can change your life. So you're emulating people who are probably successful, probably live a lifestyle, and then it's like, but do you really want to have that life? I mean, yeah, you might have a lot of money, you might have a lot of fans, but with that comes a lot of complications. Sometimes some of these people, they can't really do anything per se. They can't really get out of their houses. For sure, I think at the end of the day, it's better to cry in a mansion than cry homeless outside. So I guess what I'm saying in this episode of my podcast, where I go all over the place, is that I think it's okay to emulate people. I think it's important to get influenced by the best of the best. I think it's okay even to, if you're an artist, you want to use loops, you want to use a splice, I think it's perfectly fine. If something is legal, I think you can use it. So, that's how I feel, because if you give me the same sample that you're using, we're both going to use it differently. Like, we're not going to have the same point of view. We're not going to make the same kind of art. So piecing music together has been around for so long, dance music, hip hop music. And so, it's okay to do that stuff.